You are now live, right? All right, how are you? Again, three and done. Yep, I'm back. Kinda, lunch break, life break. I know some that wanted to join this morning did not get a chance. So, trying to even it out. Ugh, nose. I just do not like when it rains. I love the rain, but I don't like what it does. It have me doing all sorts of stuff. It blows everything around, and these kids are loud. They're outside, and I know I can hear them. You guys probably can hear them. It sounds like they're in the house. I'm glad I was having a hard time with my sound. Oh, okay. Sometimes if you switch over to desktop, that might help. I know everybody's used to mobile, but if you go through your browser, switch over to desktop. It's a little bitty uh, button, or actually it's just a little word. It says I desktop way at the very bottom. When you go put in YouTube desktop, and you can pull it up that way. Yeah, I've been having a hard time with a lot of volume, and I don't think people sometimes it's YouTube, but sometimes it's the people not realizing when they're recording that their sound is very low. So I keep my sound up, and on my camera it's automatic, so it's gonna be loud, and I'll have to go in and adjust it when I'm doing the editing, like with the music and stuff. But sometimes people don't realize their volume is so low. I will have to stream it on the computer and then watch it with the volume through my phone because I can't hear anything on the computer. It's like, and I hate to miss out because it's probably something good and valuable. So, in any case, they're getting 2 views for me. So, yeah, but it sucks when you don't have that volume. I totally understand. And, the closed captions help sometimes, but sometimes it picks up the wrong words. So, oh my goodness. Some of the things I see. Okay, so how are the girls doing? good. We are out this week from school. Yay! Everybody needs a break sometime. That's good. Give you peace of mind. If they're anything like mine, though, I will say that, and then somebody will come in and I want to do my schoolwork. They know. They go get their big workbook, and that's what they do. I don't have any problem. Hello again, Miss Sylvia. I'm so glad you're here. And it's just good to get to talk to you. I know some people may not realize Sylvia loves actually has children in public school. So, very interesting. My kids are always glad not to do schoolwork. Yeah, mine too. We just had that discussion the other day. My son said, what did he say? I wish what did he say? The government said we didn't have to go to school or something like that. That should have been the law. He said a long time ago, they should have just said, we don't have to go to school. So I say, you want to be ignorant for the rest of your life? Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's that kind of thing because he's the one always going to get everything and proving everything and all kinds of stuff. So I just let him say what he wants to say. And deep down, he's always the first one to answer any and everything. He's just the leader. He just, I don't know. Tell him, okay, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. And the next thing I know, he's right there trying to help everybody else. And just like that little one, I don't want to do it. And the next thing I know, she's helping everybody else do their work. And I'm like, you just said you didn't even want to do it. So they want to work when they want to work. But that's, we keep it pretty even. I don't force them. Because I know sometimes if I don't feel like doing something, sometimes it's better just not to do it because you end up doing a bad job and, you could have put more energy into it later on. So, we'll sit down and just read. Yes, I do. Michaela is about to do her homeschool work. Okay, so you took them out of school? Or you're supplementing? I know many people watch, homeschool vlogs. They're just curious as to what goes on. Not necessarily they have kids. A lot of times my audience is pretty much older, mature people. And they're just, all around. They've been watching all along. So they, just like to watch all the vlogs. But some people just want to see what goes on. And that's the reason why they watch, or they do both. Okay. Well, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Both. I've talked about that too. You can supplement, you can complement with homeschooling. You find a balance, find out what works. Yep, so many myths and misconceptions about this. And so it's neat to be able to share with other people that would otherwise think, homeschooling is, they think we're weird. It's barbaric. All kinds of stuff until you point out that public school has only been in existence for the last 200 years. Mm, Three and down says a lot of parents are doing that now. Yes, yes, they are. Because the schools are just not challenging. They're not challenging the children. Some of her friends say we do too much work. Well, when you are learning and it is challenging, you don't get it's too much. It never stops. Education is not something you do. It's something that you just live. You always learn. Now, of course, if you're just getting up going to school just because, the man says you have to go to school, then yeah, it becomes more of a task, more of a chore. And that's where a lot of society falls because the school system was set up for daycare. They want people to work. That's the bottom line. People need somewhere to leave their children or they're not going to go to work, So they say, okay, let's create this thing called public school so that these kids can go to school and these people can go to work and make our society productive. At the same time, we're going to take your tax money and it doesn't matter what we teach them because you want the money that we give you to go to work. You know, It's a catch-22 all the way around. I've heard that the same thing here, put the kids in school and it's like, we have two different principles, two different philosophies on parenting, and sometimes that happens a lot. It's very common in a lot of homes, whether people want to admit it or not. But yeah, from somebody that does not really value what I'm actually doing and does not see the benefit, it's crazy. But when the kids can come and say, well, my dad doesn't even know XYZ, and, I just give that little side eye like, and you went to public school and you don't even know this, you know? So, you are correct, a daycare. Yeah. Yep, that's all it is a daycare, And it continues, the thing is set up to let people or the children uh, learn to like these subjects, right? Because, what happens? They have university for further education, right? And they need people to teach these subjects. And so the children gravitate towards these subjects and they go on to university and graduate, and then they need, they are going to teach these subjects. So it's just a cycle. It is just a cycle. And this is why so many people opt out of, further education beyond high school because it's really not necessary. The same way, there are people that have home educated all the way through college. You can do that. So, yeah, I just try to stress to them that for us, it's more of our faith, our what am I trying to say? Our principles that don't line up with the school system that I was trying to stress to the other parent. And it's like, I'm not trying to make somebody see my stance, because my stance holds, it's, they're here. Bottom line, they're here and they're going to stay here until I say otherwise. But that person had no kind of, you know, ground. Well, it doesn't matter this, it doesn't matter that. And I said, well, it does, because I'm instilling better things into the kids than they can get at school. Okay? I see the kids, and the kids go outside and other kids are teasing them. I'm like, okay, the kids come in the house and tell you the kids are teasing them and they're saying mean things, and you don't defend the kids in any sort of way or explain anything. There's no sort of compassion. And I'm like, if I wanted that, I would just send them to school, because the teacher's not going to feel for them the way, And I said, but as a parent, you're lacking, because that's what you should be doing. If nobody else is going to feel that compassion for your children, it should be coming from home. Michaela finally got a homework package from her school. Some schools say homework is stressing the kids out. Yeah, it is. Because, the homework is taken away from family time and just all, sometimes it's not even necessary if they actually were, able to do what they needed to do. And, though public school exists, it was poorly designed. So, I say we don't do homework, but we do school. We have pretty much 7 days a week. We do a lot of things. A lot of times on Saturday, Sunday, I am, I don't want somebody to take this the wrong way, but like tutoring the kids. I spend more time because we're not so focused on other things. And I could really do this any day of the week, but it just seems to flow like this. You just chill on certain days, and I will take that child and just spend a good amount of time with that child on a certain thing. And, we sit down, we have conference. And, I see this is happening. Tell me what you think about this, and, how is this working for you, and that type of thing. And so I take what they say. I might have to write some notes and things like that. And, I follow through the rest of the week and so forth to help me along with them. And sometimes I might have to refer back if I see something. That's why I don't like to really say struggle. I use that term very loosely, because I'm in all command here. I can do what I want, and I have the power to find out and really hone in on struggle. There's no excuse for struggle. It's not like I'm sending them off to school and I can't see them and I don't know where they're struggling. The teacher just sends home the report card and I see a grade on it, or I see this paper and I'm like, what is this? That's not what happens here. I can see everything. So I have a lot of intervention that I can do. Vietnam says, I'm not a big fan of homework. Yeah. So, yeah, we just, like I said, I would tutor them on certain things and make sure that they're not just going through the workbook. That's just, or the work text. That's not what I want them to do. And they will tell me themselves, challenge me, give me something challenging. This is not challenging. So, I take that feedback from them and say, hey, and, the same as if a child is in school and the child is not performing, a teacher will easily say that that child is slow, or that child is a troublemaker or something like that, when, the short of it is they just may not be challenged. So they're not going to do it. I watched the little one certain things. I had her start off on this letter of the, well, it wasn't even letter of the week because that was too, it was too far. She was progressing too fast. It just, she didn't want anything drug out. So I said, okay, let's give you a letter of the day. After a while, she didn't want to do that. Once she had mastered all of the stuff, got all the phonics and, all of that down, she didn't want to do it anymore. And I was wanting to, kind of systematically continue that path. And, she was just bored. She was bored to pieces. And that's why I said, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to let you read, because there's nothing else for me to do but let you read. If you got this down, let me open this book and see. I opened the book. She can read. Okay, well, we didn't have to spend any more time on that. And I'm just so thankful that I didn't follow, I wasn't following some box and some lesson plan, because I would have still been trying to, because I sunk my money into this thing, trying to follow that lesson plan, saying, wait a minute, this said this and this said that. And yes, I'm going to use my own understanding, but we got a whole plan here, and this whole thing is long. And what are we going to do if you've mastered this, So that's another reason why I have to piecemeal things, because they progress a lot faster than, than normal. We spend a lot of time doing different things and working with these concepts. I was listening to somebody say they have a, I want to say about an 8-year-old. They don't, language arts, I think it's probably about a 3rd grade level when you're 8. Yeah. Don't, not into the writing and things like that. Well, when you get to the 3rd grade, language arts is all about writing. And oh, well, they only want to write, what they're doing is a sentence starter, and then it's a fill in the blank. Well, in kindergarten, that is what you are taught. It is a sentence starter, and you fill in the blank with a word or two. Now, oh, well, we'll get there eventually. If you have a child that age and you're still saying that, and that's okay, and you took them out of school because the school wasn't progressing them or they weren't getting it, seemed like to me you're doing the same thing. Because at that age, a child should be capable of writing at least 4, 5, 6 sentences consecutively with no problem. Not a sentence starter and a fill in the blank. Because you've taught them to read a couple of words and you're teaching them sight words. They can do that. There's no reason why they can't sit there and write that amount of work. Because by the 4th grade, the kids are writing book reports. They're writing little essays and stuff. And if you spend all that time saying they're not ready at 8 years old, you got to go back. That's 3 years. So in another 3 years, the child will be 11. You're going to have so much resistance at that point, because by then they're up to like a whole page full of, whatever. And sometimes 2, a page and a half. So that's a power struggle right there. They can't, unless they physically cannot write. At what age? No, I was saying about 8. A child, language arts and phonics and all of that, or language arts and grammar turns into a child being able to read something and give it back in the form of a narrative, like 4 to 6 sentences, not a sentence starter and a fill in the blank. That's kindergarten. Okay, 1st grade, they're taught the parts of speech so that at 2nd grade, they can continue to build on that. By 3rd grade, they are able to write using what they have learned those past 2 years. And so, I give them a little thing right here. We read a story. They might not fill up all of it, and this is, if you know, this is really only 6 lines. It's only 6 lines because it's 3 lines. It's a 3-line deal. But 6 lines. They might not fill this up. I don't give it to them and say you have to fill this up. But by the time I read the story and have them, this says copy work, but it's either copy work or narration. They will have all of it filled up on their own. I have no problem with that. And even the little one, when she does hers, because she has to do hers too, she can tell me 3 good sentences. Okay? So I write those 3 good sentences down. It's not a fill in the blank thing. Let me see. I think I just showed you guys some stuff in something, but I had a whole thing in here. I have to share what we're doing for language arts now. We have changed a lot of stuff. Switched over. I just haven't shared the new stuff. I've just shown you stuff that they have done and not really shared the curriculum and what we're using. Okay, let me give you an example. This is she had just turned 4. This the 4-year-old work. This was over when we did over in the meadow. Frog swam in the stream. Lizard is on the gate. Bees went into the hive. Now, of course, I'm not going to have her write all that. She could have, written that easily, but she was able to tell me what she wanted to write. And she drew the picture on her own to, to remind her of that poem and the story, because we had the poem and the story. And I think that was that video, Literature in a Brief. I think that's where I showed you guys that. But let me see if I can find the this stuff is in here. All kind of different ways. I need to figure out where I'm gonna put it. Just give you an example of what the twins do. Okay. So this was King Midas and the Golden Touch, and I think I shared this too. The whole thing is filled up. I didn't tell him what to write. I didn't tell her what to write. But they got some, there you go. Wrote that themselves. And drew the pictures on their own. That's one. There's commas in here. All of that stuff. So everything that I have been teaching them came out in here. I didn't tell them where to add commas. They added the commas themselves. Apostrophes. This is like 4 sentences or 5 sentences. There's contractions in here. So this went from, learning basic words into what somebody would call spelling words to, you incorporate into your grammar. So we take the simplest little things, and like I said, if a 7-year-old can do this, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, they're capable of doing it if you just give them time. If they cannot do that in one day, that's fine. Sometimes you have to break things up, but to just flat out say that they can't do that, what are you teaching them? And then to say they're not mature enough to even be where you're placing them if they can't do that. And any curriculum is going to tell you this is what, if it's that grade level. I've not seen any 3rd grade or 4th grade or 5th grade, material that says this is all you do. That stuff gets harder in the 3rd grade. My third grader is amazing, an amazing writer, but doesn't like being on camera. I would love to show her doing work. Yeah, it's kind of hard. You know, I try to sneak in when I show you guys what they're doing, but it'll take away. And I'm a stickler on handwriting. I know somebody's going to come back and say XYZ. If you watched the other day when I said I stopped her, she only wrote 3 words. That's another thing I see. Everybody's pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. I don't push it. If I see any kind of, I only let them work. I give them, you know, they have a whole list because I have to write the stuff ahead of time. But I only have in mind if they can only write 2 or 3 words that day, that's all they're going to write because they're going to do something else, not just that. And it's handwriting and spelling. And if the letters are not formed properly, I just stop them. There's no point because I want it neat. I don't want them to have to erase everything. I don't accept sloppy. So that's the reason why I'm training them to write on the 3 lines so that some of the things they do are on regular 2-line paper. Or regular notebook paper. And they do it's the same principle. They have to take their time. I don't give them a whole bunch that I know that's going to make them tired. Like, you know, if you accept that, then the kids, you know, will kind of rush through things and it's like really no point. And I learned, you know, with the older kids, if I can't read it, I don't want to, you know, have to spend time struggling to read it. You're going to have to do it over. Here's another example of handwriting. Okay. They get to the first line and that's all they can do. That's it. You work on the next line tomorrow. And this just happens to be the doxology. And it is actually in, I think, 4 or 5 pages. So, and this is something current that they're doing. But I make sure that it's, you know, something easy that they don't have to struggle with. And it's clear at what I want them to do. We use form drawing for our 5, 6-year-old this year. And it helped with the handwriting. Yeah, it does help. It does help. I think Hannah follows that curriculum. I don't show you guys the book thing, but I don't know if she does it for handwriting. You know, I do stuff like that because I know that it does help. And having a lefty, and I need to help out some people. Matter of fact, I got something on the table for lefties, but that does help. That really does help. And you don't have to have those books and things like that to do that. You can just do that on your own. But the key is not to just give them something and say, copy this. You have to show them what you're doing, stroke by stroke. This is how you do this. Explain it to them before you let them do it. And then relate it back. Okay, like when you're doing your handwriting, make sure your hand is loose or make sure your hand is tight. That gives them the nice pencil control. Hi, Shari Nicole. So yeah, that form drawing really does help them. Looking at my kiddos. So yeah, we really, you know, like I said, we take our time doing things, and I cannot possibly share everything because it's just a lot of work. You know, I use the McGuffies a lot for the copy work, and you know, same thing in there. Whether it's copy work or it's dictation, we do a line at a time. Hello. Mom. Yes, ma'am. I want to go to Walters. We'll see, okay? You finish your ice cream? Yeah. Okay. But I want to go to High five. Walters. All right. You want to go play? Yeah. Okay, go play. Thank you. I told you to put these up. Oh, here, bring them here. I'm sorry. I still neglected to put them on the shelf, didn't I? Yeah. Bring them here. I will put them on the shelf. Took them off. 1 and 2. I'll put them on the shelf in just a minute, okay? She went to look at her books, and she wanted me to put them back on the shelf. These are really cute books. Where's your
It's right here.
So you really want me to get up and go get you some water? For real? And you just grinning, huh? And I'm comfortable. I had a couple more things to say. They are, hold on. I love the primer books. They are the most used books. Which books? In homeschool. Which primers? Primer. All right. Goodness gracious. All right. What was I going to say? She wanted me to put these books up. Oh boy. And what did we talk about earlier? We were talking about we were talking about the curriculum that I really enjoyed that. Not if the curriculum doesn't line up totally, you won't buy it. I really agree with that. Like I said, if it's something missing, it's something missing. There's no point in trying to stretch it if it doesn't work. Go back here. Am I missing some comments? No. Yeah. Okay. Make sure I'm reading them all. And so, yeah, some people can really, put together, we were talking about putting together your own from thrift store and Goodwill and things like that. There are a lot of things you can do. It's a lot of flexibility and freedom that won't give you those holes over a standard box. There's less the structure, but that does not mean that you don't have structure. It's not a guided structure, if that makes sense. I'm going to go read something to you guys. Alright, now what I have in my hand is a children's because we were talking about history, and it's really easy to, throw the history because we know the history is not sound anyway. Okay, but I have a reader in my hand, a children's reader from one of these boxes. Let's see. Let me read something. Let me read. Oh, because there's so much I could go into. All right. Now, it says, hold on, this is the one I want to read first. Okay, let me read this. It says, why did the pilgrims come to America? They came so they could worship God in a way that they felt was right. They came so that they could tell people that they needed Jesus in their hearts. They came so that they could preach God's word without being put into prison. They came to start a new country in which people would be free to do what is right. What did the pilgrims bring to America? The pilgrims brought God to America. They loved God, and they had God in their hearts. More than anything else, they wanted to serve Him. The pilgrims brought the Bible to America too. They did not just carry their Bibles around with them. They read the Bible and they believed it. They started our country on the teachings of the Bible. They believed that God's Word is the most important book in the world. The pilgrims also brought themselves to America. They brought their whole selves. They loved the new country and they were starting. They loved the new country they were starting, and they put their whole lives into making it a good country. They did not just work for their country when they felt like it. They kept right on working. Even when the hard times came, they loved our country so much that some of them even died for it. The pilgrims were not perfect men. They sometimes did wrong and made mistakes, just as we do. But they were men who believed in God. They were men who obeyed the Bible. They were men who always did their best to make our country great. All right, so that's a whole lot of stuff, right? Everybody knows the story about the pilgrims and all of that. And this is real, it's got a lot of God reference in it. Kudos. Okay, but we're talking about the pilgrims, right? Little kids. Okay. So, but you want to teach the truth. Okay, you want to teach the truth. Now, the other part of the story that is in standard in every, curriculum, the first Thanksgiving. Okay? Everybody knows that the first Thanksgiving is in there and what happened and all of that, right? Now, but you want to teach the truth. So, but this tells you that it's telling the kids that they were good men who obeyed the Bible. And they always did their best to make this country great. Would you all let your children read that? I mean, how I don't know. How do you present something like this? That's my chat back. There it is. I don't know where my page is. There it is. Where's my discussion? Okay. No way. Okay. Now, because, I could just sit here and say all kind of stuff, and I will get so many naysayers and she has no idea. And so that's why I let you all talk, because I need other people to understand that I'm not the only one. I can tell you anything. Okay, now, like I said, the other part of that is the story, the first Thanksgiving deal. Okay, now, we talked about this earlier. Somebody was talking about, oh, well, we have to, it may be in there, but we have to teach the children what is true. Okay, so, but see, this right here in this reader is just a story, but it is part of the foundation lesson in the actual work text that the child is to do. Okay, so what are you supposed to do when you have this thing that you just bought and this is the lesson? Okay, what are you going to do with that when this is the daily lesson? Okay, now see, in the beginning of this curriculum, I'll get it out there in a minute, but in the beginning they don't do this because they teach is just basic stuff. Okay, and every curriculum does this. I've searched all of them, and it goes deeper than what I'm gonna tell you in a minute. But they all do this. They start out real gentle. They hook you in. The package looks good. It does this. It does that. The next year, they change it. It's a whole different thing. They start adding these different things. And what happens is they are indoctrinating these children, because what is given, okay, and like I said, this is not history. This is a reader. Okay, this is a reading book. And this is part of the language arts. Okay. So they're going to start telling the child to do this, and they have to do this and this. This is what they are learning. You cannot escape that. That is what that's how they designed it. Each year they're building on it. They're building on it. The whole book is designed the same way. So you can't use the whole book. Okay? Because see, if you're teaching them in truth, you have to go back in time. Anybody that has done the research, that's the reason why I don't do Thanksgiving, and knows the true history of Thanksgiving. Okay? Every dish presented at Thanksgiving has a meaning behind it, and it's all bad. Okay? But we taught that they shared the dish and the Squanto and the Native Americans, and this one says Indians. I already told you guys, if you teach your child Indians, they're going to have Indians. Indians live in India. Native Americans were the first Americans here. But these books continue to throw in Indians. Do not give that to your child. Okay? We may know the difference. We may know how to distinguish it. But when you constantly indoctrinate that into your child's head, and then when the child reads it, wait a minute, there's India? Okay, who lives in India? The Indians. So, but you said they live in America. See how easy that is? Just like we don't say if someone is Japanese and they live in America, we don't say they're American. They're Japanese. Okay? It has to be right. Even if they were born in America, they're Japanese. Okay? So yeah, the history of the meal, the cranberry, that was the blood slaughtered, the massacre, the people that were killed, that represents that bloodshed. The stuffed turkeys were the babies, all of it is bad. But this book tells us that these people were good, and they believed in God, and they obeyed the Bible. It's a box curriculum for you. There is nothing in the world that would make me go for this. Okay? I don't care what anybody said. If this was the only curriculum on the earth, people went to jail for us. Rosa Parks, I would be, kudos to Rosa Parks, because I'll be right behind her. Okay? I wouldn't teach it. I would not teach it. That's why I say you have to, this is assimilation. It's assimilation by popularity. Okay? See, they can put anything they want to in this mess because people are going to buy it. They don't question it. You go assimilate because you say there's nothing else. There is something else. But I'm going to teach them the truth. But if the whole thing is built on the same thing, I can go get another book. I can get a history book. I can go get another reader and show you the same thing. Or I can take it further. When I say I do my research, I took you guys to Bob Jones and I read you their, Bob Jones's university, his curriculum. So I have to think, okay, these people wrote this homeschool curriculum. They have these universities. Who wrote this? What do they have in their head? Where did they get their education? How do they think? That's what I need to know. This university, this is written by a university. Some of y'all might have gotten it already, this curriculum, okay? They say that these children, or these young adults, because they're grown, cannot work on Sunday, okay? They cannot work in an establishment that where they have to handle alcohol. Okay, that may be understandable. You want up and up citizens, but they cannot work on Sunday. Everybody don't celebrate Sunday, worship day, and all of that. But they can't work on Sunday. Males, the residents, they have to be, they have to have approval before accepting off-campus employment. Okay? So if you know if the males do, the females, it's going to be worse, right? Okay? The resident women have to be 25 years old to work off campus. Okay? That's what this homeschool curriculum people, they come, At this university, there are separate doors in the eating facilities that the male and female must pass through. Okay? They walk outside separately, kind of similar to what I told you guys Bob Jones does. They have separate sidewalks for male and female. This university, none of these students, and I can't even say kids because they're grown, no cell phones allowed. They may have a cell phone in their vehicle, but that cell phone is not it has to be a data, no data. You can only, old school where you just call. Okay? You can't do anything else with that phone. It has to be in the car at all times. No tablets, no iPads, no nothing. We're talking about grown people, okay? Grown people. Anything that can transmit Wi-Fi or anything. No communications. Outside communications. So you got to be 25 to date people off campus without a chaperone. We're talking about grown people, right? So them same people, okay, because they started with the university, made this reader that I just read from. Because, see, I had to go all the way back. That's where I start, at the high, and then I go low. Because I could have made my determination from what I read in the student handbook that the stuff was not good. But, see, I like to get my hands on stuff, too. Let me look at this and let me see what I can do with it. I got the whole curriculum, all the subjects. I can't use that stuff. They could send it for free, Mariana, or 3 and done, and I wouldn't use it. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't use it. ABEKA. Some of y'all were not ready for that. Some of y'all are going to be shocked. Some of y'all are shook. Becca. And Becca's old school. It was one of the first, because it's Christian. and it's just been around, and people just, because it's a box, it's popular, it works, see? But they want you to learn and teach the way they want you. You can't take anything out of it because they have built the stuff all into it. Like I said, if I pull up another book, from the first page, it's teaching you Columbus discovered America. And I'm like, okay, if this is the first page, what am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to teach the rest of it? It starts on a lie. So again, some people cannot shake that assimilation, and that's fine. You just have to admit, okay, I'm assimilating. Some people know, okay, we're not doing this. It does not line up. And so for those of you that said if it doesn't line up, I totally get that. But I've not read or any review or watched any review where anybody has said this. Now, some people I understand, but for us, that stuff, especially the history, is not for us. Okay? You can do what you want with the rest of it, the rest of the components, but for us, it's not for us. And so if that alone is not for us, and I'm giving you a little bit more that you did not know, because nobody has ever shared anything about this. They won't dare share anything about this. Some people don't care. Some people don't research it enough. But like I said, some people are going to be, what? Where did you find this out? I showed you. Bob Jones, I showed you the information. I'll show you. It's there. It's in black and white. Maybe you didn't read it. This right here is strong and true. This is one of the readers. I got a whole shelf of them. We don't read that stuff. Not at all. Not at all. There is nothing we can do with that. I think the chapter I read you, the chapter before that is tell you about the first Thanksgiving. Yeah. It just is not, it's not what it says. No. They throw in the God and all of that. And can we come in? You can come in. It does not make it okay because they can toss that in there. Like I said, you said they could send it for free and you wouldn't use it. So, yeah, this is, I have seen this, Aaliyah, close the door. Hold on, y'all. I hear some rudeness. Hold on, y'all. Boy, these unruly kids, I tell you, they are so unruly. So unruly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but like I said, that's, it is what it is. You really, really have to do your research. And I know people don't do their research. They say they do. And, and then yeah, everybody's going to do what's best for their family. But if you are saying one thing and you turn around and do another, that really shows your character. Okay. And it's okay. You're not really, you portray yourself as somebody else. That's fine. If you have to accept that, some people, yeah, I don't see it as an excuse just because that's what's there. I don't see that. I'm not one of those type of people. But if you have to accept that, by all means, teach it. So when I hear things and I have to, when I look at these things, I have to pay attention to who's telling me. But I'm not going back and say, oh, well, you need to go read this and you need to read that. That's on a need to know basis. They may not be have the same feelings, um, about things. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Um, in that aspect, they may, are one of those that can take away, things and say it's just fine. But, like I said, this right here, this is reading. This don't have nothing to say. Christian reading series have nothing to do with history. So by the time you get done taking away from the stuff in the curriculum, there is nothing else because it's too tainted. So yeah, that is, kind of, that's why I steer clear. I mean, these are, it's so sad. It's really so sad. This is one, like I said, we did not use this one. This is the homeschool version. We use the school version. It's two different things, two different principles. But this, no way. They only made it to appeal to people because they marketed. They know it's money. Just like the reason why they have the there's different versions of it: the accredited, the non-accredited, the video. They know some people are not able to afford that, but again, they want to push their stuff, and they don't care, so they're going to sell it because people will buy it. I talked about using the the manual. Some of the manuals are just answer keys, and you may not need them, but a lot of these curriculum manuals, you need the manual for them, and they cost money for a reason. I heard somebody talk about Bob Jones. Bob Jones, is it Bob? Yeah. And the manuals, the lectures, the DVDs, that stuff is expensive. But they knew that, hey, I better not buy this without this. It's an investment. If they're giving it to you, it's because it's designed to work with it, not without it. So, I don't know. But yeah, some, like I say, some just, this is basic, another reason why we won't use it is because it's basic. It's a fill in the blank. It is too teacher intensive. Now, I don't mind teacher intensive, but this is, it's all teacher. You have to, if I were to open a book, it would tell you, write what your teacher says. That's every answer. You have to basically stand there all day, and that's why so many people turn that thing away, because they find that it takes all day just to teach the whatever, and they don't even get done a day's work in a day. So, some people use it loosely, and, some of it works. And that's fine. I just, I couldn't. I seen some of the, the reading. It's a nice little system. Like I said, that's just the beginning of it. But once you get into the meat of that curriculum, after the beginning levels, it's a whole different curriculum. It just is not the same thing. The things that you have to teach the kids is just not for certain people. So, yeah, I would much rather piecemeal what I have to. That way I don't have to worry about falling into something like this. I get something, looking at the package thinking it's good, and then I open the box and start going through the stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, what is this? So, I'm trying to think, is it anything else like that? It's like I said, it's quite a few things that I just know better not to mess with it, because I found things in it. And when they start off small, like I said, this thing did not start off with this little homeschool curriculum. it started from the university and it goes down, but people don't think like that. It's the layman thinking. But yeah, you want to take it all the way back to their foundation, their principle. And those are the people that write what's in this thing. Think of what else. Let's say they have science. It's not as, it's kind of basic. It's just readers. But they throw in the God reference, here and there to keep it along their principles and things like that. But it's not, I think a lot of people expect more than what it is. Yes, you may come in. And again, that's what's selling it. Something else. But yeah, a lot of it, it's too much. The kids don't want to color all of the stuff and just all kinds of stuff. It was funny. I watched something. It had been a while ago. One of the workbooks for this thing, the kid drew some devil horns on the thing, and I was just on the picture. That was just so funny. I was just like, wow. The book was the devil. So yeah. Anyway, the parent ditched it. And other people pointed that out too. Like, I saw this on this page. But yeah, the parent knew enough to say, hey, the kid was not even, it just wasn't what it should be. So, yep. Oh, man. You just, you have to be careful with stuff. Don't just accept things because that's what's there. There's always an alternative, and you can find something. There's always alternative. I don't see a reason to accept anything. It really doesn't make sense. Sadly, that's how things are, that's how the world runs. People, it's popularity. It's a popularity contest. And the more people I hear say, oh, but we don't do that, or I don't do that. And then I see this, it's like, wait a minute, you just said you don't do that. And so you choose this. So you are doing that. It just defeats the purpose. Outside. Oh, there's the UPS man. Okay. Let me see. Go back to these comments. The books. So, if somebody is watching that is using this curriculum, feel free to weigh in and let me know. Honestly, I'm not biting at all. It doesn't, if that's your choice, that's your choice. If you knew this information, let me know. If you didn't know it, let me know. If you knew this information and you vlogged and you didn't share it, why didn't you share it? Again, I know everybody is not ready for this. Everybody is not going to share this information, but I really, I feel that it's important. I'm not everybody, and those of you that come here know that I'm not everybody. So those of you that really, come for some information will take away, those that have other opinions, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not telling anybody, per se what to use or what not to use. I'm telling you, be careful what you select and why you select it. And know what you're getting into. Don't follow somebody just because. this thing costs, when I'm hearing people say they spend all their money, that really resonates. And I think a lot of people just don't. They hear it, it goes in one ear, out the other. It's a sad thing, especially starting out. If you go and it's a flop from the beginning, that will ruin your experience all the way around because you ended up with something that flopped. When I would talk to people about the diapers, and some people will say, the cloth diapers, they will say, go buy this. And there's just so much information out there. And I would say, no, no, don't do that. And I'm going to tell you why not to do it, okay? I can tell you even if you didn't have the money, there are alternatives. Don't listen because I have all these diapers. I have all these diapers for a reason. It took a while. Yeah, it takes money, but there's always another option. And some will come back and say, you know what? I should have listened because I bought this. And guess what? It fell apart. I don't have any more money. I don't know what to do. Well, I tried to tell you. That's all I can say is I try to tell you, then you come to me and how do I fix it? So, it's like somebody was saying earlier about theologians, you know, I'm not sure. I think it was more directed to, well, they have their own agenda or something like that. You know what? That may be well and true. And the reason for that is because they are disciplined enough to sit there and study. What has happened is seminary is a school. It has something, it's been thought out, and especially the Bible it's unlike any other. It's not like going to normal school. The Bible.
The teachers are calling the police on
No,
us.
they're not. It's the study. It's the breakdown of it. Okay, this has been.
Oh no, because their brother came in our yard.
Okay, stay in the house. It has been pieced apart and examined, dissected over and over and over and over again. Okay, everybody does not have the same mindset. Everybody does not have the same interpretation. Everybody does not have the same doctrine. But when it has been pieced out and examined, they have come together and made certain determinations. That's just how the Bible was written altogether. Some people say, oh, well, this part of it was left out. Do you know why some of it was left out before you start saying part of it was left out? It's not all false or it didn't happen like that. I love that. Well, can you explain why you think it didn't happen like that? Because they didn't just take it and, say here. All of it was not, first of all, there was no print press. Okay, so they can't copy and paste stuff. Okay, so yeah, some of it is going to be left out. It wasn't that easy to transcribe a Bible when there's nothing to write on. Okay, but yeah, the most common stories that's what's going to be put in there. Aaliyah, close the door. Close the door, Aaliyah. Hold on now. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing with this material. They know, some of them know the stuff does not line up with a lot of families, but they're going to go with the popular, the acceptable, and that is the reason why many of us have pulled the kids out of school, because we don't accept the popular. We pull them out of school for that reason. And so it's sad that these curriculum companies are doing the same thing. Some people have no idea. It's a homeschool curriculum. And that's it. So, yeah, sad to say, but that's how it is. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I'm really, if anybody wants to weigh in that uses it, did they know the information, that I shared? Is it changing your opinion or your thoughts, or why is it that you had only one, if you only had one component, why did you choose that one component? These little kids are so hard. Oh boy. Let's touch from here. Did you get it? They did. Other than that, like I said, I'm just, very reserved, very, very reserved when it comes to picking things. I just cannot take and give them anything. Sure, I could say, here, read this book, and then they're going to come back and say, wait a minute, didn't you say X, Y, Z? So it defeats the purpose of teaching, and it makes the job a lot harder when you have to reteach it. You put it's just like any textbook. You put your textbooks are textbooks. You use the textbook as a guideline. You cannot fully trust what's in the textbook. Um, it's just not going to tell you fully what you need to know and what you need to understand. It's going to have some popular interpretations, and you have to pick and decide, is it worth having to reteach something? And in the long run, it's not. It's more damaging. So if it came down to not using anything, like you say, I wouldn't buy it if it was free, or I wouldn't use it if it was free. If I had to go without anything, I would just go without anything. I would have to work that out later, but that's something that I just would hold firm on. So, yeah, I'm trying to think what grade. That's another thing in here I didn't point out in these books. Now, this is Christian based. The illustrations in this book do not point to Christian base. Okay, they have animals in the image of man and all kinds of stuff. So some people don't even pay attention to that. But if you're saying that we're teaching the kids the truth and we do this and we do that, and you pick up something like this and say, this is what I'm using. Yeah, it's like, okay. So, and I've heard plenty of people say that they're, the illustrations in some of these books, and so they won't use them after they actually go through them. They won't use them. So, yeah, it is kind of off. I'm not liking this one. Let me hold this up. Here's one. It's not animals, but it's people. I don't like how that looks. They all look the same color to me. So, I don't know. You be the judge. But yeah, I see a lot of clowns and stuff like this in this curriculum. I'm like, what? Mm-mm. Especially in the math books. Our math books, what I showed you all, worldview, it slight reference to Bible. Like you may see Noah, you may see animals. More often than none, the story has animals as the example. Very seldom will you see a cartoon picture. You may see some children, something like that. It may say something like, what day do you go to church on? That I consider, yeah, that's going to be in there, and I'm not opposed to it. Now, the question about what holidays do you celebrate or something like that, we're just going to skip that. But there's no need for me to omit the whole curriculum because of that one question, because it's only in there once. When you continue to see the same thing, like I say, if you get it in the reading and it's in the text, it continues. That's where the indoctrination starts. That's a big difference. So, and those that think that these companies don't know what they're doing, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. The what is that? Gothard with the what is that? ASI. No, I'm not saying ACE. ASI. Y'all know what the Duggars use. He knew that curriculum was indoctrinating. He knew exactly what he was doing. Because that one is so close to our math. Our math is ACSI, so I didn't want to get it wrong. But yeah, that curriculum is totally indoctrinating, and he knew that. So, must be careful. For those of you that did not know that these, this book was like this, now you know. If you ever wondered, it's a whole. Ask, okay? I might not come in and do a whole sit down on this. Ask me. I might be able to tell you something about something that somebody else won't tell you. I'll tell you the truth. I can tell you in private, but I'll tell you the truth. And you make your own decision. I'm not going to tell you, oh, well, I wouldn't use it because of this. Like that. I'm going to tell you the reasons why I don't use it, but not that you shouldn't use it. Get that right. So those are the reasons why we don't use it. But I'm not going to persuade you. I'm just going to tell you what's in it. You make your own determination. And there are a couple of more out there. There's another popular one I said I want to talk about, and I'm just kind of, I'm on it. And I see people discovering that this thing is not what they thought it was. So I'm not the only one that is very conscious like this. Okay? I'm not the only one, y'all. I'm not being negative or anything like that. It's not a negative. So, but, those that, if you feel threatened by what I say, it's because it hit home. Don't listen. I think, and if somebody had showed me this, um, I wouldn't have, this was given to me. I wouldn't have said, this is what I'm going to use. If somebody had showed me this, after that, I would say, no way. No way. No way would I put my money into that. So, if they were to come up with something new and somebody, saw this and they tried to say, well, here, let me send you this. No, no, thank you. It's just not going to happen. And a lot of, this other one I'm talking about, a lot of people have accepted it as for review purpose, and it's a wreck. It is a wreck. I don't like to talk about anybody's work, but it's a wreck, and people are finding that out. From the images to the lessons itself, it's not sound, especially for us. For some, it may work, but for us, you guys know what I mean about that. Don't accept it because that's all that's out there. Just don't use it. It's common sense. Do not use it. If you use it, don't complain about anything else. You're just like everybody else. And I am going to get in here and end this chat. Thank you all for those of you that did join. Those of you I will see in the comments will be approved. And, if it's flat out garbage, I don't care. That's you. If you want to put yourself out there in a comment like that, I don't care. I do not care. It's you. It's not me. Do not disrespect anybody. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.